Hello, it's Bambaji here with another gate exploration. And today we are looking at gate 39. So you can see here on your screen, gate 39 is in the root center. It's an individual gate in the root center, and it's pointing upwards to gate 55 in the solar plexus. Like its mirror gate, the 38th gate of the fighter, which also happens to be its opposition in the wheel, obstruction is a combative fuel. And we move into this gate 39 on the 30th of June at 2056 BST. Gate 39 is the gate of obstruction. It's the gate of provocation. So what can I tell you about the gate of provocation? It's provoking. It really is. Way back in our history, sometime between the birth of Buddha and the birth of Jesus, the solar plexus began to evolve. And the mutation, or the evolutionary journey of it, was going from a pure motor into our third awareness center. As we already have the splenic center is our primary first awareness center, it's the primal, and then the mental awareness center of the ajna. And here we have the potential spiritual awareness that is based in the solar plexus, but it's not really for humans. There are maybe the odd rare cases where it manifests, but it's really not as a general for the human race. It's for the new species who are coming in 2027. For us, really, the solar plexus, for most of us, the solar plexus will always be an emotional motor. The energy to provoke is an essential ingredient in our experience. It is in the design that the individual must fight, is provoked, and must provoke to find the spirit. The provocateur is seeking the spirit. They're trying to provoke that spirit into expression. They're trying to pull it out. And since this gate is always looking for the spirit, the fuel also gives it the energy to persevere, to deal with the moods that this process releases. With this energy, it's really important to recognize that the people you can easily provoke, the ones you easily get a rise out of, they're not for you. This is the journey towards the spirit. The channel that gate 39 is part of is, it's with gate 55, that's the other end of the channel. It's called the channel of emoting. It's a design of moodiness. And the mood in this particular channel, it swings from hope to pain and back again. And it's the motor energy of the solar plexus. And we find here that patience is the key. Patience is so important. And it's one of those things that if the cycle of the mood isn't seen for what it is, which is a purely chemical wave frequency coming out of the solar plexus, then the results can be very difficult to deal with. Above the lines in the Ray V Ching, it says, the value of obstruction in provoking analysis, assessment, and re-evaluation. The moment that mutation takes place, these are some of the tools that we can utilize to deal with it. We can analyze it, we can assess it, and we can re-evaluate it. Real mutation turns the tables on things, and then it becomes essential to employ these tools in order to be able to understand what it's going to be like to live in a world with that mutation. The 39th gate, as a fuel out of the root, is going to make its own contribution to this metamorphosis that is going to take place in our emotional process. The 39th gate is the gate of obstruction and also the gate of provocation. It is the energy to provoke or not. It's a gate of teasing. And this is one of the gates that can kind of be best understood by looking at its negative aspect. So if you think about using provocation to find out who cannot be provoked, if you try to provoke somebody and they're not provoked, then that spirit is correct for you. You know, if you can provoke someone, then move along. This spirit is not right for you. Trying to find the right spirit can be a confusing business, because gate 55 is an emotional gate. It has its wave. You know, so what might be the right spirit on a Monday will not necessarily be the right spirit on the Tuesday. You know, it's an archetype, really, of how this gate functions. It's a very juicy energy. When you look at how the archetypes work in the way that the gates all function, the provocation is there just to find the right spirit, because once linked to the correct spirit, there is the potential to emote, the potential to bring that spirit out. It's an individual spirit, so it's like nothing that's necessarily been seen before. And with that bringing out of the emotional spirit is the capacity to bring out the mutation. The individual is responsible for mutation in the grand scheme of things. This is inherent in their design, in their makeup. There is no metamorphosis of the emotional system other than through the individual circuitry, through the individual process. And the individual can only have impact on the collective and on the tribe when they are truly in the right spirit. So the individual mutative force, which is in the right mood, very infectious. And it has to be, because it has to move the mutation through the totality. And it can't do that without having that infectious, contagious element to it. The format energy for individual circuitry is rooted in the 360, and it's a pulsing energy, and it's actually related to eating, and not so much what you eat or when you eat, but this is about who you eat with. So if you have this gate 39 and somebody new comes into your life, then imagine that you have to sit down to eat with them. Would you really like to eat with them? How does that feel? 39s can tap into the answer to this better than anybody else. You know, adults might struggle with actually coming up with an answer, but if you ask a child about the people around them and who they would like to eat with, they can tell you very quickly who that would be. Provoking is a deeply selective process. It's a very important process. It can also be a painful process. Given the nature of our world, and because many 39s are automatically provocative, you know, they only have to walk into a room and somebody there will be provoked by them. This can be a very difficult energy to carry. So many people are provoked by a 39 because they're not the right spirit. And of course, not everybody can ever be the right spirit. You know, but some 39s, they end up disliking the very essence of what they are, because it's just too hard to find the right people. The 39 people themselves, they have to recognize their own truth, embrace their provocative nature. The 39 is a fuel. It is not aware. The root center is not an awareness center. It's a pressure center and it's a motor. So this is not a particularly sophisticated mechanism. It is simply about the recognition that there are aspects of your nature that are provocative to some people. And only the people that it is not provocative to are for you. To provoke efficiently comes back to your own recognition. So say you have a certain kind of habit. You know, you might like to tap your feet while you're eating. And you have somebody sitting beside you, and every time you tap your foot, they kind of go, yeah. So you're provoking them. That's all that means. And it doesn't have to come with a judgment. It's just the mechanic. This is what you do if you've got gate 39. And if you're provoking them, then they haven't got the right spirit. Don't eat with them. If somebody else is there and they don't mind your tapping, maybe they don't even notice you're tapping, not on their radar, then you're not provoking them, and you have found someone with the right spirit in that moment. Truly, it's really not a sophisticated way of dealing with things. So when you discover who is generally always provoked and who is generally not always provoked by you, then you've succeeded. You know, the whole success for a 39 is to keep on provoking. In order to be authentic, the 39 has to be provocative, with the recognition of why that provocation is there, so that there's no discomfort when other people do not like the energy, try to change you. I mean, the worst thing for any individual is for somebody to try and change them, to tell them they're not good enough or they're wrong or whatever the situation is. But that's like telling the sun not to shine. Now, you can't tell a 39 not to be provocative. It's their nature. They're not doing it. It's who they are. It's a very beautiful thing when you can see it within the context of the mechanic and when it's not seen as being personal. Now, so many gates have a really deep knowing of what they're here for, what is correct for them. It's a genetic thing for them, almost. I'm going to share my screen with you again and show you. Okay, so I need to move that down one. Okay, so you can see there, there's a sun in 39. This is at the bottom of the screen in the wheel, and directly above it, there is the 38. So we say then that the sun in 39 is grounded by the earth energy of gate 38, the gate of opposition, the gate of the fighter. So you've got opposition and obstruction, the fighter and provocation. You can see these two actually work really well together. So this is they're mirrors to each other because they both come off the root center and in exactly the same way. Let's have a look at it here, look. Okay, so you can see that, you know, they are mirrors of each other. If you folded the body graph in half, they would be on top of each other there. When your nature is to provoke, then you can imagine that it's very useful to have that kind of fighter energy too. You know, it can be very helpful, very supportive. They're both fuels. And even just by their positioning in the body graph, you can see that they support each other in the process and in their expression. If your job is to provoke others, to find the spirit that sings to your heart, having elements in your design that will help you to stand firm and to fight for that spirit that you're provoking, that can be a comfort. You can sort of become your own ally, in a way, you could say. What else can I tell you? Well, I could ask you a question. Let me ask you this. Do you recognize this energy of provocation? Is it an activation that you have or that someone you know has? I have two friends who have the whole channel, and each of them, in their own ways, can be very provocative. Most of the time, it doesn't bother me. Actually, I seem to have quite a resilience to the 39. I actually have the 55. So very often, I mean, they both compromise me, of course, but it doesn't seem to bother me too much. But I would say, because it goes with your design. So look at your design. For me, the only time they really managed to, you know, get on my nerves or really provoke me to a point where it was uncomfortable and I had to leave, had to get out of the auric space, was if they trod on my loyalty kind of thing, because I only have this one channel, you know, the 3740. So this is the whole focus for my design, really, or a huge proportion of the focus of my design. So if somebody provokes that in me, or someone treads on my community stuff, I mean, anything around that, then very often that's when I will get kicked off. And I know that that's what happens with these two friends of mine. Bear has a colleague, we had a colleague with this gate, and this guy was a manifester. although he wasn't actually operating with his design, a manifestor with gate 39 who wouldn't inform. So you can imagine how well that worked out. I mean, he used to provoke people left, right, and centre, mostly by not informing. And I mean, really, very often it wasn't very pretty. It was fascinating to watch because we could see the mechanic of it, and yet it wasn't happy. I often think that this is the energy of, for me, my brothers. It's that sort of, sometimes my sister, but mostly my brothers. They have that kind of way, they know what buttons to push. And I would say, knowing now what I know about human design, is that actually for a lot of the time, I am not the right spirit for my brothers because they can provoke me so easily. And then I have gate 19, so I go into that oversensitivity thing, and then the whole thing plays out, and I'm emotional, so we have that wave going on, and the ratchet, and it's like, wow. And then I think, what if, wouldn't it be amazing if my mother had known about this, if she had been able to bring that to our relationships, you know, with my siblings, with her, my father. I mean, obviously it didn't happen, and I'm not trying to sort of go back with that, and it is what it is, or it was what it was. But it gives me great hope for going into the future with parents who do know about this, who are able to hold their children in this space of giving them the tools to understand their own design, understanding maybe why they provoke some people, why they're very needy here, why they're sensitive or insensitive. We've always got the duality there. You know, all of these little signposts that are dotted out throughout the chart, just giving them the tools to recognize who they are. So having parents who are willing to come into this knowledge and bring their children and their families into it is just such a gift for humanity as we move forward into, well, uncharted water, really, because we have no idea what's going to happen in 2027. But 39, it can be a tough energy to carry. And really, I guess when you come down to it, the only option that we have is to surrender to our mechanic, isn't it? Whatever we've got, embrace who we are, love ourselves, and then everything else will follow. The right people will come into our lives. We will have the experiences that are meant for us. And then we can just sit in the back seat and we can enjoy the ride. So that's me for this particular gate transit. Thank you very much for watching, for listening. And if you have any comments, I would very much enjoy hearing them. I love it when you guys interact. It's such fun to get your feedback and to see your perspective of these activations. I always enjoy reading the comments, and I do always read every comment. So, and I do usually respond as well. So if I haven't responded to a comment you've made, please nudge me. And I will see you in 5-6 days for the next gate. And until then, go gently and take care.